What is up, everyone, and welcome into the Fight HQ preview for UFC 288, which, of course, goes down here on Saturday night in Newark, New Jersey. Of course, I am Jason Floyd. That is the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Good afternoon, Pete. How you doing, man?
Good afternoon, brother. What's going on?
Man, it's another Friday here in the office. It's always great to be here on a Friday, talking a little sports with you, a little combat sports action with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was at a box show last night. I'm going to local MMA card the weekend. In addition to trying to watch as many fights possible. So, how my weekends are, and I'm always excited when it's involving combat sports.
Yeah, apparently we're having once again that little technical glitch we had right before the show there. With we'll try to work our way through it. But before we kind of get into breaking down these fights in terms of this one, do want to give a congratulations to Pipestar for taking down the contest last week over on DraftKings. Had 554 points taking down the contest over there, and he had a losing fighter in his scorecard with 𝐃𝐤𝐬𝐬𝐵, but goes out there and gets the win. Congratulations to him. Of course, if you want to get in our contest this week, you can simply do that. It's right here in the description, whether if you're watching us on YouTube or if you're checking us out on the podcasting platforms, it is in the show notes. So be sure to check us out over there at contest. Always a great time to go in there. And as always, but Pete, let's talk a little bit about game theory this week. And this is kind of an interesting one. We've lost two fights over the past couple of days. We lost one fight today. Lost a fight a couple of days ago with the Johnny Munoz fight. Of course, we lost the 𝐒𝐳 fight, which once again, another example, Pete, why we never believe retirements in MMA. We had two examples on this card of him and Henry Cejudo, but this is interesting. Like, as I'm looking at the salaries for this one, Pete, the thing that really sticks out to me as a game theory is, boy, it is going to be hard as hell to avoid the main event and co-main event because of the price point on these fights. Main event, $8,100 on each side. Co-main event, Burns $8,200, below Muhammad $8,000. They're both 5-round matchups. When we talk more about the co-main event, I do think that the 5-round does favor one fighter over another fighter in terms of this one. But then I look at some other ones. Like, I look at takedown options on this card as well. I look at Evelev against Diego Lopez up here at short notice. We've seen Diego really struggle to be able to stop the takedown. If Gracie goes in there as an underdog and wins, that means he gets the fight to the ground. If he doesn't get the fight to the ground, I just don't see how he can win there. But there's other interesting options that, in terms of GPPs, I'm looking at. I'm looking at someone like a Braxton Smith. Like, Pete, when we talk about heavyweights that love to throw them bungalows, that is Braxton Smith. Like, I mean, look, he is going to fling it. I don't know if he's got 4-minute cardio. Would that be a good way to describe Braxton Smith?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's just a very muscular man, and it's very compact for the heavyweight division. So he's the X factor for this card for sure. And you don't necessarily know how to gauge it or project it because of his stature is somewhat of an anomaly, right? Like, he's not going to be long for the division. He's an overblown lighter guy that has now just gotten us into the heavyweight division and hit great. And he's in a fair matchup against Parker Porter. So I'm excited to see what goes on in that matchup. But like throughout the entire card, there are several underdogs that I think are extremely live. A ton of intrigue spots, lots of volatility again. And once again, so it's an aggravating card as far as like who plant your flag and be comfortable with. Outside of some heavy favorites, like Gus Williams is a heavy favorite, but arguably a safe option. Movsar Evloev, a very, very safe option as well. I'll tell you what, for me personally, I won't be getting either one of 6,000 fighter this week. I'm going to try to really focus my ownership on the live underdogs, the ones that I really think have a legitimate chance. And with how the card is, I think the 2 5-round fights makes interesting, and it's just I don't think you can put both in your lineups, although that's going to chalky build. And the reason I think so is because a lot of people just want points. So 2 5 fights is going to give you some safety and security of getting those points. But I feel like there's going to be one of them can that's going to have a higher pace, that's going to have more numbers, less negation. And what I think, I think will prioritize the main event over the co-main event, because I can really see Burns and Belal Muhammad negating each other a lot, against the cage, versing position, attempting takedowns, getting stuffed, and it being more a war of attrition than a volume type of fight where the outside Aljamain is going to be throwing high numbers, attempting takedowns regardless of Henry Cejudo's credentials. So yeah, I'm going to target the lighter guy, I think, and that's going to be my way of playing it. But I think, target 1 5-round fights, start to create the rest of your lineup.
We'll have to work on Pete's audio a little bit there. It's a little skipping out on us, where we are aware of that situation. Not quite sure. We thought we had it fixed right before the show here. But, look, I will say this is in terms of like cash games lineups, like GPP lineups, like I will want to get to someone like a Braxton Smith. In cash game lineups, I'm kind of concerned to kind of get there in terms of that one. But I will tell you, for cash games, I'm going to be going on both sides of the main event and co-main event in terms of this one. But overall, really looking forward to this fight card here on Saturday night. I'll actually be up in Tallahassee tomorrow night, so trying to find maybe either watch it at my Airbnb or maybe I'll go out somewhere to watch this one. But Pete, the main event of this one is Henry Cejudo taking on Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling, of course, defending the bantamweight title here, as he is 8,100 on DK, 8,100 also for Henry Cejudo in terms of this one. And, Pete, the thing that sticks out to me as we think about this matchup, and it's kind of like we've talked about this countless times, it's the things we know and then the things that maybe we don't know. And to me, it's the unknowns of, we have not seen Henry Cejudo in almost exactly 3 years. The last time we saw him was that first event, during the COVID era, where he went out and got the win against Dominick Cruz. And, he's got to overcome a massive reach disadvantage in this matchup of 7 inches. How does he do that? I expect Aljo to be the faster fighter. But to me, the thing that comes in interesting is who will engage in the grappling first, whether it's Henry Cejudo with his wrestling or Aljo attempting to get this fight to the ground.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this goes. I think that the volume on the outside is clearly going to favor Aljo. The length is going to favor Aljo. And then it's interesting when it comes to the takedown department. He's got to avoid right hand of Henry Cejudo. And the inactivity of Henry Cejudo is definitely an X factor. I know he trains every day, but being under the lights and hitting his stride, unlike, he's been away, right? And Aljo's in his prime now. So I think that Aljo, despite not having the wrestling credentials, I think he's going to be able to make Henry Cejudo down. And if he can get the backpack position, we see Aljo taking Merab Dvalishvili down in training. And I think that had really prepared and elevated Aljo, significantly. So I think Aljo is going to be, I'm surprised too, because last week I told you I was Henry Cejudo, but I've kind of really shifted my feelings on a lot of things, watching more and more film and training footage and that. So I'm going to be going with Aljamain Sterling, but I think it's an interesting, compelling fight, and the fact that he has a high level training partner, Merab Dvalishvili, is definitely helping him.
Yeah, for me, in terms of, and I would say check yourself. I just texted something. Maybe you have maybe 2 weeks ads open there, but like I'm leaning Henry Cejudo in this one, Pete, and it's just one of those things of, I don't feel great about it because I do have a lot of unknowns in terms of him in this one. I think the thing that concerns me the most in terms of Cejudo in this one is just overcoming that reach and speed disadvantage. But I do think the 5-round nature of this matchup does favor Henry Cejudo, because you think about that second matchup against Jan, where Sterling got up 3-0 in that one, but he lost those final 2 rounds of that matchup. That is a little bit concern of me of if this thing hits round 4, round 5, and Cejudo is able to win one of the first 3 rounds. Could we see something? But like, look, to me, I think it's a fight that you necessarily cannot avoid. Now, the co-main event is also a 5-round matchup. It is a non-title matchup, but these guys both won in 5 rounds, and that is Gilbert Burns and Belal Muhammad. Muhammad 88,000, 8,200 for Gilbert Burns. And, you got to give a lot of credit for both these guys for stepping up when UFC really need another notable fight on this card. And also for Gilbert Burns, that he knew he could have sat on the sideline and just waited for a title matchup. He could have easily done that, but he said, you know what? No, I'm going to take this matchup. And for Belal Muhammad, this is the type of fight he's been looking for. And one of the things when I don't know if you happen to do this just like I did, I was over at UFCstats.com, which is when you're looking for UFC stats, that's the place to go to. And the thing that was crazy to me about Belal Muhammad was the people that have actually been able to take him down in a matchup, because it's fighters that you just, Pete, would not think of, fighters that would be able to take him down. And just to kind of throw some names out here, Damian Maia, okay, jiu-jitsu guy, Damian's got to get the fight to the ground. But there's only 2 other fighters in his entire UFC run that have been able to take him down. One of those is Takashi Sato. And look, when I think Takashi Sato, I don't think of someone who's looking to double leg and take you to the ground. And then the other one is back in 2017, Jordan Mein. Once again, not a guy you think about is going to be looking for a takedown.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. Styles make fights, and it's very interesting. I think for me personally, I think it's a really close fight. And we've seen Belal Muhammad. He's been hitting his stride like crazy. Gilbert Burns has had his opportunity at the title, and he fell short. But I think that Belal Muhammad is a guy that is so well-rounded, despite having a very herky-jerky style. Tends to have the better gas tank over a lot of his opposition. So his work is through the roof. That's where I think he's going to be the difference maker in this fight against Gilbert Burns. I think Gilbert Burns is a fantastic grappler, fantastic striker, clearly the better finisher of the 2. And that's where like getting to Gilbert Burns at 800 makes sense because of his finishing upside. But if you really dive into it, like sometimes he overexerts himself, and I think that in a 5-round nature that can be used against him. So I'm actually picking the underdog Belal Muhammad win a decision here. I think it's going to be a really close fight. I think that the price point is at a tough spot to avoid, but I feel like it's going to be 2 rounds as a piece, and then it's come down to the 5th round, and then that could result in not 100 points, and that's what we need. I know the price tag is cheap enough, but I also worry if the ownership, they go a little bit over-owned compared to their ceiling. I understand their floor is pretty high, but I'm not as like, I don't know, bullish on their ceiling this week. Again, I may be in the minority this, but that's kind of where I'm feeling.
Yeah, no, I'm with you in terms of that there. And by the way, your audio is still skipping a little bit, so I don't know if you want to.
Yeah. I can hop out and back in if you want me to do that.
Yeah, I'll carry it for a little bit here and just hop on out here. But we'll get Pete back in here and make sure you get that audio all squared away here for the fighter, Pete Rogers Jr. Of course, we appreciate everyone tuning in here for Fight HQ. Of course, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. We always appreciate everyone checking out the show here at Fight HQ. So be sure to check out that over at Fight HQ. Appreciate that all the time. And of course, we'll see if hopefully this is the thing about doing live shows. This happens. Sometimes we get in that situation.
What's hilarious is I can't hear you. So I have no damn clue what the hell is going on. Let me re-enter this thing again. Welcome to the.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of a technical issue, but that just kind of that happens over here. But I will say this: I am kind of just like Pete in situations of I do like Belal Muhammad in this situation. I think the 5-round nature is beneficial to him, because I do kind of wonder is if this thing does hit round 4, round 5, what does Gilbert Burns look like in terms of this one? So to me, overall, I do like Belal Muhammad. I will say I was over at Prize Picks a little bit earlier, and I saw that the takedown prop for Gilbert Burns is only at 1 takedown. I don't think you can, even though Belal has done a tremendous job of stopping takedowns throughout his time in the UFC, I still think if you're going to play that takedown prop over there on Prize Picks, that you definitely do look at looking over there. Can you hear me yet or what?
I can hear you, but now I feel like this is going to be coming through a different type of audio. Is it still echoey?
Yeah, it's still a little echoey. Yeah.
I don't know.
But it's better than what it was. We'll just have to deal with it.
Okay.
You're not like skipping anymore. Let's just say that you're not skipping anymore.
I haven't done anything different. All I did right now is just put it through the webcam audio. So
yeah, we'll just kind of deal with it. We know everyone wants to get. They just want to know what you're thinking. They want to know what your cash score is going to be for that Fight HQ contest, so they know where to get in front of you there. But what I was just mentioning that when you were figuring things out there is, I think the 5-round nature does benefit Belal Muhammad in this one. I think the longer the fight goes, I mentioned about the takedown prop for Gilbert Burns on Prize Picks is only 1. If I was going to go one way or the other, I would go more than 1 takedown. I almost feel like that might be a push, that he might just get 1 takedown and we don't get any more than that. But that's kind of the way I thought. But like in terms of GPP, particularly cash, I don't know how you avoid either one of these fights. But when I look at the in terms of GPPs, I think if you want to get a little bit different, it would be a great way to get different. But man, it's just it's hard to get away from the salaries in terms of this one in that one. But let's move over to next one. We got a female matchup. We got Jessica Andrade taking on Yan Jinan. Jessica Andrade 8,800, 7,400 for Yan Jinan. Of course, man, we fumbled the bag last time with Jessica Andrade. I mean, I wish I would have found out the information I found out after the fact about Jessica Andrade in terms of her injury there. But this is another one, like I was mentioning over in Discord earlier this week, that there's a lot of underdogs underneath 8,000 that I find intriguing. And Yan Jinan's one of them.
Yeah, Yan Jinan this week. And, when Andrade was facing my girl Blanchfield, I was nervous and I was scared, but I still said I had to ride with my hype training person that I believed in. And Blanchfield made me see I was really, really smart. Jessica Andrade has been able to dominate within multiple weight classes inside of women's MMA. So I do think that he's one of the most experienced, one of the most talented and biggest names within women's MMA. So whenever you can get a win over her, it does wonders for your career. Now, bouncing back and forth between weight classes sometimes, finding some consistency in one and not the other, is okay. But I almost like it when fighters stick one weight class and they're just consistent, don't have to worry about that. But she's active. So activity has led to her picking up a 15-8 UFC record. Still look at Jessica Andrade as a very dangerous takedown threat. But she really likes to trade feet. So she really likes to trade on the feet, and she doesn't keep her guard up that well. She walks people down, throws high volume, as evident in the Lauren Murphy fight, where she just walked her down through 309 significant strikes, landed 231, and had 130 fantasy points in a 3-round. So that's absolutely ridiculous. But I just don't think that, she respected what Lauren Murphy was presenting her. She was able to bully in that octagon. So she definitely is a bully within MMA. My issue still is like me as a coach, right? I'm trying to keep all my fighters as sharp as possible and, really hammering home fundamentals. She made it work, but somebody's gonna catch her at chin when she's just being too aggressive. And I do think that a fighter, Yan Jinan, who can really strike well from the outside, looked ever improved in her fight against Mackenzie Dern. She's able to defend takedowns, defended none of them, even though Mackenzie Dern had the best takedowns, more of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu practitioner than a wrestler. Jessica Andrade, when she needs to, can wrestle excellent. She can really wrestle well. But it's been some time she's really gone to the wrestling. Like, she attempted 12 takedowns against 𝗙𝐤 HOREZ. That was back in 2018. But outside of that, 4 takedowns, Rose Namajunas, 3 against Namajunas again, Chukian 3, 2 against Shevchenko, and then 1 scattered throughout the 𝐒𝐤𝐬𝐬𝐿 and Blanchfield fight. So not really her strategy anymore. She just stands and trades. So I'm actually going to be picking the underdog in Yan Jinan to win a decision here. I think that you can light Jessica Andrade up like a Christmas tree if you're not afraid. I know the power is exceptional, the finishing upside of Andrade, makes her high ceiling play. But I'm going to be picking the dog. Even in a loss, she can score well. She's going to throw a ton. And I think this is going to be a decision win for 𝐉𝐨𝐢𝐬𝐳 7,400.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think 𝐉𝐨𝐢𝐬𝐳 winning by decision is kind of the way I go. I mean, I think from a GPP upside, you definitely like going to Jessica Andrade. I mean, as I look at the ownership projections right now in her, I don't want to get that high in terms of that. And to me, it's more about the price point of Jessica Andrade in that situation. At 8,800. I mean, look, I think that if you're playing at 8,800 Jessica Andrade, the hope has got to be is that she gets a finish sometime in the first round, early second round to be able to pay that price, just because of the other options that I'm looking to get to, especially when we talk about those high end options, Pete, that we want to get to. 𝐉𝐴 is one of those guys this week. Of course, he's been away from the octagon for some time now. Was supposed to take on Bryce Mitchell. Bryce Mitchell is pulled from this fight on Monday, and now Diego Lopez steps up in terms of this one. He's 6,800, 9,400 for 𝐉𝐴 in this matchup here. And I mean, look, Pete, I mean, we've seen the struggles that Lopez has had in being able to stop the takedown. I mean, if you're 𝐉𝐴, I mean, this is when we're talking about fighters who have the ability to go to takedown city this week. Like, this is the guy that I mean, there's a couple of guys I think on this fight card that you look at and say, okay, there's some takedown upside here. But to me, I look at 𝐉𝐴 as a takedown upside, and to me, it's more about getting to that 9,400, which is not difficult if you're saying I'm rostering one guy in the main event, one guy in the co-main event. It's a much easier path to get to that 9,400 𝐉𝐴.
Yeah, I think 𝐉𝐴 is a clear spend up play this week, and I think he has a massive ceiling. Sometimes you have heavy favorites in extremely favorable matchups, so the fear is if they miss the quick win bonus, but yet they still win their fight and finish their fight too quickly, so that you're not able to really get to that ceiling type of performance. You want a fighter to be able to get back to his feet. You want a fighter to be tough, unless they get a quick win bonus. And at 9,400, it's not like he's crazy expensive. He is very expensive, but this week where there's so many live dogs, I think it's a very chalky, but a suitable W to put a part of your lineups. And we saw what he did to 𝗵𝐸. 𝗵𝐸 is a fantastic fighter and a good grappler in his own right. Landed 9 of 16 takedowns in 15 minutes. So I think that there is finishing upside for 𝐉𝐴, and I do think that his first UFC finish. I just hope it's not too quickly, right? You know what I mean? It's basically my only qualm about rostering him. Hard to be predicting that. I think it's just he's a very safe fighter. So I'm going to be getting to plenty of him, and I got no Diego Lopez. Not really sure if he's going to be able to get back to his feet. So that's where I'm not ignoring the other 9,000 options. I think that there are plenty of fantastic ones this week.
Yeah, I mean, 𝐉𝐴 is a guy in terms of a cash lineup that he's going to be a part of my cash core just because I believe that the takedown is going to be easy. And I mean, but I think you bring up an excellent point of, if the one fear to potentially have is he gets one takedown and, maybe we can't maximize that high fancy upside in terms of him. But to me, like when I think of my most confident picks for this one, I mean, I know it's easy to sit there, hey, my most confident pick is the guy who's a 9-1 betting favorite, but there's very much reason why he should be that favorite. And I would tell you that I was going to be high on him against Bryce Mitchell too. I thought it was a bad matchup for Bryce Mitchell. Now our opening matchup of the pay-per-view is going to be the return of Gracie. It's almost been 4 years away from the octagon for him, taking on Charles Jourdain. Jourdain 8,700 on DK, 7,500 for Gracie. And Pete, when you think about this fight, it's not hard to sit there and break down this matchup between these two guys. If Gracie is going to go out there and get the victory, it's because Gracie gets the matchup to the ground and he is able to use his jiu-jitsu. If this fight stays on the feet, I don't see how he wins this matchup. But as I mentioned a little while ago, you go over to UFCstats.com, Pete, and you just start pulling up Charles Jourdain. I believe it's only 2 fights where he hasn't been taken down. One was Doo Ho Choi. Doo Ho Choi didn't even attempt to take down. The other matchup, which was, who is it? Josh 𝐃𝐢𝐳, who's 0 for 7 in takedowns. He was taken down 5 times by Nathaniel Wood, 2 times by Shane Burgos, 1 time by Lando Veneta, 1 time by Andrade 𝐒𝐢𝐬𝐬, 2 times by Julian Erosa, 1 time by Marcelo Rojo, 5 times by Andre Fili, 4 times by Desmond Green. Now, of course, some of those guys, Pete, are guys that you look at and say, well, they're wrestlers. Desmond Green, wrestler. Andre Fili, wrestler. Andre 𝐒𝐢𝐬𝐬, sort of wrestler. Lando Veneta, no. Shane Burgos, no. Nathaniel Wood, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, personally, I think that this is a volatile fight and one I'll be targeting. You have Charles Jourdain, a guy who can outstrike some of the best and can get in wars. Don't label him a trustworthy target. My issue with Jourdain's fight IQ. He can be down. Yes, he can be offensive with grappling, but every single time I feel like he makes a headed decision. So when you're making mistakes and then they're pairing up against Gracie, a guy who has dedicated his life to jiu-jitsu. It's not jiu-jitsu, right? It's MMA, but still there needs to be some level of respect for any that goes out there. Because you go into their element, within an MMA fight, you are in danger, especially when the grappler is such a prolific back taker, and that's what Gracie is. They don't go for orthodox takedowns, so I think that in itself is throw off Charles Jourdain. It's a lot of back facing. It's a lot of just getting behind, dragging them to the mat to set up a rear naked hook. Obviously on the feet. I know Gracie demonstrated his toughness against Cub Swanson years ago, but that was back 2019. No, I really know what he's been up to, so I can't tell you, and be super confident that he's gonna look great. He may look horrible. I'm gonna be targeting both sides of this fight either way, but I can at least tell you that Gracie has a high finishing upside if it hits the mat. We've seen what he's been able to do against Katona and other prolific grapplers on the scene. And I do think a guy that has a ton of mistakes, elementary mistakes in the grappling department, is live to get submitted. And there's evidence that against Julian Rosa, Jourdain was submitted in the 3rd round. So I'm going to be picking Gracie here. I don't picking against some of these jiu-jitsu practitioners in MMA. They are matchup specific, but I'm going to be going Gracie at 7,500. And, on the flip side of that, I'm not going to be ignoring Charles Jourdain because of his high TKO upside. We did just see him go out there against Shane Burgos and throw 188 significant strikes and follow up against Nathaniel Wood, but his Achilles heel is clearly grappling. He might be better suited for bare knuckle with his crazy reckless style, but until an MMA fight and he proves me otherwise, I'm going to be targeting grapplers against Charles Jourdain.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and someone had asked us in Discord earlier about the takedown aspect, and he hasn't shown the ability to stop the takedown. That to me is what the concerning part is. But I would say I love the upside of Gracie in this one, but I am concerned about it hits the 2nd, hits the 3rd round. Maybe we see a little bit of that ability that we have seen out of Charles Jourdain with some of these spectacular knockouts or the flying knees that he will throw, and maybe we see him go out there and do that. Next up, we got a matchup between Drew Dober and Matt Frevola. Drew Dober 9,200 on DK, 7,000 for Matt Frevola, and this is this to me has GPP written all over it. Even though Frevola has gone out, his last 3 fights have ended in the 1st round, 2 more wins, 1 was a loss. Look, I think that he just can't get into a striking matchup here with Drew Dober. If he gets into a striking matchup, Pete, I think it's going to be a long night for Matt Frevola. To me, Frevola's got to grapple.
Yeah, so my issue with this matchup is that, father times undefeated, you can only take so many shots on your chin. There's going to be where Drew Dober gets knocked out clean. And, I don't know when that's going to be, but he is reckless at times. He is a takedown liability. So if Frevola laces up his wrestling, as I would really recommend in this matchup against Dober, Drew Dober is going to lose the first round, maybe even the 2nd round. The ego of Frevola and his willingness to trade on the feet and just get into an absolute war is what makes me lean towards the crisp striker of Dober, who's going to throw a great left hand down the middle or an overhand left. And I think he's going to knock out Matt Frevola. Frevola at 7 is a clear upside play if he wrestles. The issue with Frevola, similar to Jourdain, is that he's an absolute banger. And he's fun when you knock people out. You get a quick paycheck. But at the same time, if that is not your natural strong suit, I don't recommend you doing so. So I think that Frevola, if it gets out at round 1, I like Frevola's chances to really be smart about it. But in round 1, I don't trust him to be a smart fighter. So I'm going to be picking Drew Dober at 900. It's an excellent fight target. I think the under's a good play. I don't expect this to go the distance one way or another. And if it does, I would say that Frevola is likely took Drew Dober to take down City.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things to me is I like Drew Dober in this matchup. I think it's a quality matchup for him. But for Vola, I don't love getting there at 7,000. I understand why you would potentially get there. I will tell you, an underdog that I do want to get to is Devin Clark taking on 𝘃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐳 9,000, 7,200 for Devin Clark. And this is, if Devin Clark is able to basically just rush at 𝘃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐳 and get this fight against the fence, that to me is his best chance to win this fight, Pete. And that it may not be a great fantasy score upside in terms of him, in terms of this one, but like to me, like if he's going to go out there and get the victory, that's how Devin Clark gets it done.
Yeah, Devin Clark is talented wrestler. I'm horrible at picking Devin Clark fight. Really am. What he did against 𝗏𝗏 was smart. Pinned him against the kid, went 3 of 11 into the takedown department. I thought that despite his accolades that he'd actually get taken down, but he proved me otherwise and went out there and looked good. I still don't like how Devin Clark is live to get fished. There is with Devin Clark where there used to be a ton of quit in him, and I think that he's trained that out of his system. So I don't know if I can just to Devin Clark now after I've seen so many times Devin Clark just wilt under pressure and when it doesn't go his way, and you know what I mean. And one time I'll pick Clark now. He's finally gonna put it together. I feel like I got to ride with my gut, and I have to go with what I'm seeing on tape. And it's just that the reach of 𝗃𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐳 is an issue for everybody within the division. He's a big guy, throws good knees up the middle. He can attempt front chokes. He can defend takedowns decently well. And I think a more dangerous grappler, Ion Cutelaba, he was able to go out there, defend 6 takedowns, and then finish him in the second round. I think that speaks volumes. Whereas Devin Clark, I don't know if Devin Clark can stay out of danger because round 1, Clark's going to have to get on him early because Kennedy is a slow start to begin with. I'm still just siding with Kennedy here. I think that he's going to find a way to get it done. He was knocked out by a weird elbow against 𝗏𝗏. So MMA math doesn't make sense, and he was submitted in his debut against Paul Craig, but this guy's looked really good, and he can get his own takedowns and possibly his position, but that's just not the game. Safe side is going to be yelling at him to avoid the ground at all costs. And I think that the length and the knees middle and framing elbows are to get the win over Devin Clark. But I don't hate the underdog at all. I really don't. He's one of the down city candidates for sure.
Yeah, no question about it. It's just as I'm looking at, those fighters that are underneath 8K, Devin Clark, and just in terms of potentially getting the win, but I would be concerned about rostering in terms of GPPs just because I just don't know if he gets that fantasy upside. Next up, we've got 𝐾𝐲 taking on Rolando Bedoya 6,700, 9,500 for 𝐾𝐲. What I love about 𝐾𝐲 is the room that he's up there in Michigan. When you're training with the light heavyweight champion of the world, there's a lot to like there.
Yeah, for sure. I thought 𝐾𝐲 at 𝐉𝐨𝐻𝑚 𝐒𝐡𝐵 is in just such a fantastic matchup, right? I think his opponent is dangerous, Rolando Bedoya. And I don't think that this is an easy debut at all. Welcome to the UFC. Here's 𝐾𝐲. We've seen fighters really take advantage of short notice opportunities. but I got it with 𝐾𝐲 Williams here. Go the distance with Randy Brown, and Randy Brown is super dangerous. And he's picked up knockdowns in multiple fights. A knockdown in his debut against Alex Morona, knocked out _Alex Alhassan, knocked out 𝐉𝐨𝐢𝐬𝐧, knocked down Randy Brown. So most of the time when he's knocking down, he's knocking you out. I just love the dynamite power he possesses. He can also win very smart decision as he did in Matthew Semelsberger, who has he's done well. He's so much better in the UFC scene than I thought. Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, 𝐾𝐲 Williams is just one of those guys that, I mean, it's once again the price point, in terms of out there, if you're looking to play that ownership game, I mean, he would be a way to play that ownership game to get away from some of that 𝐉𝐸𝐵 chalk that's going to be out there. And of course, we're going to see kind of how ownership changes with these fight cancellations. Of course, we lost the 𝐒𝐳 fight earlier on today, so we'll kind of see where ownership kind of goes there. But, 𝐾𝐲 Williams, I mean, I think when you're looking at those high-end options between him and also 𝐉𝐸𝐵, those are going to be two guys that you're going to sit there and be interested to kind of just see where ownership does kind of go there between those two guys in terms of that one. Next up, we got a female matchup. We got Marina Rodriguez taking on 𝐷zhaniRoba here. 𝐷zhaniRoba is the underdog here. She is 7,700. Marina Rodriguez is 8,500. Of course, this is another one where I think when we talk about underdogs in these situations, Pete, that 𝐷zhaniRoba is going to be one of those fighters that people are going to look at. She is going to be one of those fighters that people are going to say, okay, that is potentially someone I want to get to in terms of that one. And I mean, look, and not surprising that neither one of these fighters are really getting much ownership in terms of this one. I mean, it's probably going to be a low volume affair between these two fighters in this female matchup. In terms of I really don't want to get to Marina Rodriguez at this one at 8,500. Just kind of concerned about that, potential of being able to get over 100 points, which, I think even though we're down to 12 fights, I think this is going to be one of those cards where we feel like we're going to have to get to 600 plus points to be able to take down a GPP in terms of this one. And I know my guy, it looks like my guy Pete Rogers is back with us. I was being old school Jason radio guy, just knowing how to talk.
There we go. I love it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on today. It could be the weather up here. Who knows? But yeah, it's an interesting fight card. I know what you were alluding to or talking about, but I'm excited from a construction standpoint to see what the optimal lineup is. It's been a while since I've taken down a turn. So I'm hoping I can get different and to do so this week.
Well, I mean, what I was, alluding to, Pete, there was I was, talking about it as like in terms of knowing that I need to get to 600 plus points to take down these big GPPs. I just don't think this is one of those matchups that I look at and say, what's the fantasy upside in terms of getting 100 points? That's my biggest concern with this matchup is, I would say I wouldn't mind getting like 𝐷zhaniRoba in a cash game lineup, but to me, it's more from a GPP lineup when we're talking about trying to take down that big contest on DraftKings. I just don't think that this is one of those fights that likely ends up being optimal.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'm saying about becoming unique, and it's avoiding some fights and then being overexposed to certain ones that the public off. This one to me screams mediocre. So I think it's mediocre performance out there, one way or another. Can make the case for either fighter. Vernican decision, and if all the other underdog they don't come through, then we're going to her. But that the slate is with 2 5-round fights, multiple live underdogs. We need more 80 points in a win. And she was unable to do so against Angela Hill, who has had a true Achilles heel in the grappling department. She scored only 86, the second round doctor stoppage against Kanako Murata. To me, this screams that it's a Marina Rodriguez decision, but she's all coming off a confidence defeat against Amanda Lemos, where Lemos isn't supposed to possess power in the round. She's supposed to be a gasser. So the fact that she finished late is a little concerning. And this is a perfect time for Vernon to go out there, not show her any rep in the stand up, throw heavy bombs, then mix in the grappling. There's a case for her to possibly break this late because of Marina's Rodriguez's way to defend some takedowns, get back up. But on the outside, I like damage, and I know that's what the judges are going to score most. So it's hard not to side with Rodriguez at 8,500. As far as like construction, I might go a little bullish this week as I always do, and I might be as minimally opposed to this fight as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those fights I really don't want to get to in terms of GPPs. I understand that, but if you feel like you can get a little bit different than the field, you want to take some stabs with multi-entry lineups. I get that. Now, next up, we got the heavyweights, Parker Porter and Braxton Smith. Braxton Smith, 7,600, 8,600 here for Parker Porter. And this was one of these fights where, Pete, when I was looking at the ownership projections right now, I was kind of surprised that it was not higher, particularly on the Braxton Smith side of the equation, because, I mean, look, Pete, you know one of my go-to sayings is, let's throw them bungalows. Like, if I'm saying, like, if there needs to be a guy whose nickname should be throw them bungalows, it is Braxton Smith, man.
Oh, for sure. It really is. And Braxton Smith is huge. He's big, and he possesses some crazy power. But there's so many unknowns with this guy. Like, he's self-trained, not really belonging to a big gym at all. Starting to dabble with teammates and all that was kind of insane to begin with. I would much rather him be a part of a team now for his UFC debut than after the fact, obviously. But Porter's from he's up here in New England and in Connecticut. He has his own gym. I believe it's Heavy Hitters. I don't want to mistake that, but I think that's what they call. He's all cross-trained at Underdog and tons of places within New England. So like, it's not at the highest level of training parts, but he is in a room with big guys too. So, Parker Porter has the jiu-jitsu to make this an easy fight. Take Braxton Smith down, sub him. Very, very simple. But that Braxton Smith is just very strong early on. That's the only thing we've seen. We don't know round 2, round 3 Braxton Smith. We don't know minute 5. So, if Braxton keeps this on beat, I think he's very live to knock out Parker Porter, and I root Parker Porter all the time. I like him. He's a nice person. I want him to succeed. I just think that he's taken so much damage, and he's so susceptible to getting knocked out. We've seen it against Chris Dawkins, 𝗃𝐿 on the regional scene. We've seen it as well. I think the early round 1 finish favors Braxton Smith clearly. The later this fight goes, the more Parker could start to possibly chop at the legs. Weigh on him against the cage, implement some grappling, was what he should be doing all alone, but it's not on. A lot of heavyweights in love with throwing hand, but you would think they're getting knocked down start against Justin Tafa, they're going to go to the takedown. He did so against Alan Bedell, went 2 of 8, went 1 of 8 against Chase Sherman, 2 against Josh Parisian. So there's a clear upside in the takedown department, but there is zero trust in this matchup, and because of all the crazy early KO upside that Braxton Smith has, I'm going to be picking Braxton Smith.
Yeah, no, I kind of get you in terms of that one. I mean, it's just I look at the high potential upside in terms of Braxton Smith in terms of this one and thinking, but I am concerned that if this fight hits minute 3, minute 4, minute 5, minute 6, I do think it becomes very much an advantage there for Parker Porter in terms of that one. But I mean, looking at the ownership projections on Braxton Smith, to me, it is very much someone I'm looking forward to there. Next up, we got 2 more fights here left. We're trying to power through some of the technical difficulties that we're having here. So, but of course, you can always join our Discord channel. Great way to find out exactly what me and Pete are thinking. Totally free to join in terms of that one, and always great conversations that we have over there. Of course, we got Phil Hawes. He's 7,100 this week, taking on Askarov, who is 9,100. And this is, Phil Hawes. Like who were you? You were mentioning Devin Clark earlier. about there's just guys you never can get right. And to me, Phil Hawes is just one of those guys for me. Like, I feel like every time I'm on Phil Hawes, it's just it's a massive dud. And then every time I go against Phil Hawes, we see Phil Hawes go out there and do something. I mean, overall, I really don't want to get to Phil Hawes here today, but it's always concerning me when I'm not on him.
I love Phil Hawes. I'm a big fan of Phil Hawes. I I cannot trust him, and I hate to be redundant, but I just do not like the volatility surrounding Hawes. And a lot of gaps can be filled with athleticism, right? So a lot of fighters, when they are green in certain areas, can get away with making mistakes just by being more athletic. There comes a point in time when you're meeting your match, and your opponent is more skilled in your flawed position within MMA, your flawed part of your game, and that athleticism can't always bail you out. So that's why I always like to think about this, is when I have my really athletic wrestlers go to my jiu-jitsu coach at Gracie Island, Marcelo, and they start working with him, and they're unable allow their athleticism to bail them out. That's what I feel like Phil has. I feel like that happened throughout him, throughout his early career. He's not a good grappler. He's a good wrestler. JUCO national champ, has excellent striking, complete cardio liability, chin liability, and submission ability. And when he loses, he gets finished. So I don't know if it's like guess. I don't know if it's his confidence, but if you are more technical and you just kind of get through those tough times, Phil Hawes, you can beat. I'm going to be personally rooting for Phil Hawes because I love Phil Hawes, and for some reason I like rooting for him. But my issue here is that he's up against a very high-paced athlete in 𝐒𝐻, very high pace, and you already know what Phil Hawes pushes a high pace early, but there's a massive cardio following that. So I think that this one's going to finish very, very early, and 𝐒𝐻 really pushes the pace with takedowns. I don't think he's going to be the most successful with Phil's, but we have Phil Hawes put on his back. If you go back and you watch Contender Series fights, if you go and you watch some regional tape, he leaves his neck there to get guillotined really easily, and I think that's going to happen. I think he's going to get choked out here against 𝐒𝐻 𝐼𝐸 has multiple ways to win. Throw combinations, possibly hurt Phil Hawes on the feet, chain together some takedowns, tack that gas tank of Phil Hawes, who's not at Kill Cliff FC. He's in Thailand right now, mixing it between Tiger Muay Thai and another camp. I forget the name of the camp at the moment. But I just think that the grade of 𝐒𝐻 𝐼𝐸, a guy that I wasn't sold on, but ground credentials, grappling credential, and everything I'm seeing, like he'll go after Kimura traps crazy, and he has an excellent Kimura. But it's the guillotine. I think that's going to be the difference maker. I think Phil Hawes is going to go sleep, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I will tell you this. Now, in terms of one of the fighters that really did intrigue me this week was Joseph Holmes at 7,300, taking on Claudio Ribeiro, who's at 8,900 now. Of course, Joseph Holmes did miss weight earlier today, missed weight by 3 pounds. The fight is going to go forward. And, when I see a fighter miss weight by more than a pound, we're talking 2 pounds and 3 pounds in this aspect, there's a lot of things that come to my mind, Pete. One of the things that come to mind is there an injury that maybe did allow Joseph to be able to cut the type of weight that he needed to cut? Or B, did it become to a point where there was a coach who just said, you know what, we're not going to make weight, we're not going to kill our body, so we're just going to stop the weight cut now, and we're just going to kind of see how this thing plays out. But Joseph Holmes, to me, was one of the fighters that was sticking out to me as potential fighters to target underneath 8,000.
Yeah, and for good reason, right? Like Joseph Holmes has a clear takedown side about him, and Claudio Ribeiro is crazy hooks. And he has that knockout power, but I think pretty clear that he is flawed with his style. He does not have good ground at all, and that was evidenced against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, come down And in my opinion, I said, okay, somebody with a good back take is going to submit him with a rear naked choke. That's what I'm predicting here against Joseph Holmes. I think Holmes can take it pretty well. Strike at long range. He took reverse Jun Park, who's an excellent grappler, and took his back after his back taken. So that itself shows Joseph Holmes out there and put together a good win. So at 700, I do worry about the weight miss, but because of how the fight going and being a grappling contest, I'm going to be favoring Joseph Holmes here, and I think that he's going to sub him. So give me Joseph Holmes here at 73.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a concern. I found myself kind of lowering my ownership a little bit in terms of Joseph Holmes because of what happened today. Now, looking at our straight up fight picks, main event, I keep going back and forth on this one, but I'm going Henry Cejudo.
I'm going to go Aljamain Sterling, and it's a lean. It's a lean for me.
Give me Muhammad in the co-main event.
Give me Muhammad as well.
I'll go. My next underdog will be Yan Jinan.
I'm going to go Yan as well.
𝐉𝐸𝐵, there's a most confident pick on the card.
Yeah, clearly 𝐉𝐸𝐵.
This is another one I keep going back and forth on. I'm going to go Gracie because I just can't trust the takedown defense.
I'm going to go Gracie as well.
Dober over Frevola for me.
Dober.
I'm going to go Devin Clark. I think he gets it done.
Okay, I hate it. I'm going to go 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬𝐿.
I'll go 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐿.
Williams.
I'll go Rodriguez. Don't feel great about it.
Same.
Braxton Smith, I'm going to go him against Porter, but if he doesn't get him out in 3 minutes, I'm scared.
Agreed.
𝐒𝐡𝐭 against Hawes.
Same.
And I'll go with my guy, Joe Holmes, but don't feel great about it.
Yeah, agree with you.
In terms of mention about some of the some of the questions in terms of over get to questions over here on. I know that the only question that came in earlier was about the best value plays under 8K. I mean, look, there's a lot of options there. Yan Jinan to me would be more of a cash game play than a GPP play. Gracie I think is a GPP play because of that potential finishing upside. Devin Clark will be a cash game play for me, not a GPP play. Braxton Smith is GPP, not cash. And Holmes, I would say, is both cash and GPP.
I'm with you. I am with you completely. I think that Frevola is a decent. If he goes to the wrestling, like that's interesting. As a clear punt play. But I think the highest upside in the range is the quick win bonus. Braxton Smith at 7,600.
Ranking the 9K option, who is going to take down City? In terms of the 9K options, I would put 𝐉𝐸𝐵 as my number one option in terms of this one. Let me sort my list here to make this one a little bit of an easier way to put this one out here. But in terms of other ones, I like 𝐾𝐤𝐬𝐵 at 9,500. He'd probably be my number two. So the other 9,000 options here that we have, Dober would be my number three. I think he's got high potential upside because of I question the chin of Matt Frevola there.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little different. I'm going to say Mozart is clearly the one. The two is Ikram 𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴. The three is going to be Chaos Williams, Drew Dober, and then Kenny Ekwelu.
Yeah. Next up, Takedown City. I think we kind of mentioned it. I mean, I think Matt Frevola, I think, is kind of a potential sneaky Takedown City if he can get there. I don't see Gracie if he gets him down once, maybe twice. That's probably all he's going to need. In terms of that, let's get some over-under for Sam. Oh, Jesus, Sam. Good Lord. Sam, are you drinking already?
What do you say?
9.5. Sam, you realize we have 12 fights, right?
This guy doesn't learn, man. I'm going less.
Wow. Yeah. Come on, Sam. That's way less. Top leverage that can find the way to be an optimal. Braxton Smith.
Yeah, as ownership right now, that's you are complete.
Yeah. Let's see here. Favorite inside the distance fights. For me, I would say Dober Frevola would be the top of the list. Porter Smith would be another one that I would put at the top of the list.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 𝐿𝐼𝑠 too. Like that's a massive inside the distance fight.
Favorite captain, MVP, and champion. Favorite captain. I think you have to look at either Sterling or Cejudo, just because I do think that thing's going to go five rounds. I just don't know how much grappling will be involved in that one. Same with the CoMain event. I think that's another fight. But I mean, look, those are going to be chalky fights. So I think you got to kind of look at some other things in terms of there. If I might label Drew Dober as my next favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Drew Dober, but if you look at his ceiling, a ton of KOs, but not a ton of 100 plus KOs. The Terrence McKinney one is 110, but there's some 93, 39, 95. He's gonna have to overcome some adversity, especially if Frevola wrestles. But I do really like Drew be a KO.
We'll leave on this question. We'll answer more questions in Discord. We do apologize for the audio issues today. It says, if you're leaving one fight out of your lineup, is it the main or co-main event?
It's really tough.
I probably say co-main event, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, that's, if I look, that's when I like, okay, how many takedowns do you think Belon's going to get? Or do you think he's not going to take Burns down at all?
I don't think he tries to take Burns down.
I think he gives a hell. I think he's going to try.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, and he I think I'm going to prioritize the main event.
Yeah, I mean, I love both these matchups. It should be a good one. Of course, we appreciate everyone tuning in here for Fight HQ, our UFC 288 preview. Of course, if you have got any questions for myself or Pete, hit us up over in Discord. Totally free to join. Got a great community over there. Any questions? I'm going to hop in there. I'm going to answer some of those questions that have been in there. I know Pete will hop in there. Pete's always hopping in there with his betting content in there. I'll hop over there and prize picks. There was a couple of plays over prize picks that I'm gonna, I gotta look at my NBA props for tonight and see where I want to go in terms of that one, because play some single injuries last night over in DraftKings and in some showdown contests, and did not have enough Klay Thompson, but it's kind of like the other night not having enough Malcolm Brogdon, but I'll be definitely over there on prize picks. I'm actually I'll be hitting the road here a little bit later on today, but tomorrow morning I will be up in that. Pete, I've learned that Gatorade Light, man, does the trick. I'm just telling you, it does the trick. It does the trick. I tell you what, it don't taste great. I'm just telling you, it don't taste great. You just gotta chug that thing, and I'm just saying, if you might have partaken a little bit too much the night before, it is Cinco de Mayo, Pete. I know you're not the big drinker. It is let's just say I've got a case of Modelo that's in the car that we make it to the Tallahassee with me.
I'm trying to get my girl to see if her parents want to see their granddaughter tonight, because I'm feeling some top margaritas I'm feeling tonight. But I like after training hours.
I like the way you're thinking there, but of course we appreciate everyone tuning in for Fight HQ. Of course, we'll be back next week. We got the UFC Charlotte card, which could be headlined by the heavyweights Rosenstruck and 𝐿𝐼𝐸. So we appreciate everyone tuning in for this episode of Fight HQ.